Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. It is a now cold fall day, even though the other day we just had a really hot day when I was doing the front porch swing. But today we are focusing on getting the lower deck done. So today we need to at least get all of the zip tape done. And then we're even starting on our first outside boards, and I'll show you what the plan is and what we got going on here in a second. All right, so this is probably the most important thing we have to do. Getting this lower deck done sooner rather than later means that once these boards are on, I can go ahead and trim out against the house up off of the deck where the siding's gonna go. So if water gets back in there, it's not touching the bottom of the siding and like rotting it out on top of the deck. So deck goes on first, siding goes on second. We got a little bit of a gap off of the deck for water drainage and stuff. And then once we get on about 3 or 4 panels, we only have to go from there over to underneath of this single window, because right in that location, once that siding is on, now I know where I need to drill my hole for the intake in the exhaust for the HRV. And once that's done, that's gonna make me feel a hell of a lot better, because the house has been sealed up since last fall. Obviously we had that gasoline spill where we had horrible smell in the basement, which several weeks later and a few rainfalls, it has been taken care of. But with staining and painting and everything else that goes on inside of the house, the sooner we get the inside with the HRV running, we can keep the moisture down, as summer's gonna bring in a lot of humidity. And again, we have that fresh air constantly in the house. So the sooner we get that done and sooner we get that HRV installed, the better. So I've bought enough lumber, about $800 or $900 worth, plus screws and zip tape, etc. Once we finish out this lower deck here today, then we can go ahead and hopefully finish out the siding and make another video finishing out the HRV. And first thing we're gonna do is just square this deck up, because if the deck isn't 100% square, we obviously want this outside board and the outside board over on this side. We want those square. And then 2 boards over there running this way against this blocking that you see through here. So 2 boards here that run that way and 2 boards over there that run that way. We should have exactly 16 feet in between here that I wouldn't even have to do any cutting. As long as every one of those boards are exactly 16 feet, I shouldn't have to even trim the ends off. I can literally just start plopping them in there and not making a mistake this time. We're gonna work from the outside and go in. So that way, if you guys remember on the front deck, I made a couple mistakes. Number 1, we started on the house and worked our way out, which means we had to get a special piece out here that was actually a 2x instead of these like 1x's. We had to rip cut that down. We had to roll the edge so that it looked like all of the edges on here. It had to be a special width, and it was just a huge pain in the butt. So we're gonna start from the outside, work our way in this time. And the second thing that we were gonna do, these boards are pretty wet like they were on the front. So instead of giving them a little bit of a gap, which once they ended up drying, they created a huge gap. So much so that when I took all of the boards off of the front porch and brought them closer together, when they shrunk, we ended up with almost 1.5 inches of room. So that tells you how much they shrink. So I guess when we do these boards today, we're just gonna push them all together so they're all completely touching. And then when they dry out, they'll give us that appropriate space. Hopefully it works out, because I do not wanna rip all of these boards up again like I did on the front porch. So fingers crossed again it works out. But we're just setting up the camera today and we're just gonna hammer all of this out. Oh, and real quick, before anybody asks, the reason why I like doing my decks like this, I hate mitered corners. Anytime you take a piece of lumber and you cut it all the way down to a sharp point on that mitered corner, that's the first place the deck is just gonna start to rot and break, etc. So if we leave these boards here completely together and we leave them, you know, the overhang that you want, and just cut them straight across, and then the board that's gonna go perpendicular to all of these joists, If they meet on the outside edge up there and they're all completely even together, then it means each one of those corners are just gonna last 10 times longer. So I don't care who you are or what you use, but anytime you miter something, I'm sorry, I just think it ends up rotting, and it expands and contracts more, because again, you're just taking all that lumber away to that peak, and then it eventually just breaks. Even if you have a miter into a miter and you like glue it and screw it down that entire 45, I think it just still ends up breaking one day. So I like to run my boards it's completely whole, and no loss of lumber or like integrity of the board. Wah, wah, wah. They're all 16 1-inch, so I got to cut 1 inch off of every freaking one of these. It's not a bad thing. At least we'll all get them consistent, and this deck will be 100% squared up. But I do have about 30 boards to cut. All right, everybody, just a few more to go here. What I learned the other day is you always use a full board on the very back side. And then if you have a discrepancy in between your boards where they're not gonna fit, apparently you rip cut your second to last board. I didn't know that, but apparently on most decks, or even like on the inside of your house when you've got wood floors going in, apparently that's what you're supposed to do. But I guess it all depends just how much of a rip cut you're gonna have. Like for example, if you had like maybe just a half a board or something, maybe you could get it to fit against there. You could go ahead and do that, but it does give it kind of a unique look that if you do have like a little piece second to last, it sticks out away from the house so everyone can see what happened and why you did that. Because again, you want to work from the outside in, but fingers crossed, we got a few more here to go. You guys think we're gonna make it? Or do you think I'm gonna have to rip cut one down and basically I'm screwed? Comment down below, what do you think? Am I gonna make it or not? All right, last two. We're either gonna make it or we're not. Uh-oh, nope. Oh, that couldn't be any closer. We're gonna have to rip cut down the tiniest board, or I guess we put this one back over here because no one's really gonna see that last one. Oh, there's just no way. Well, good news is I think we might be okay just to rip cut actually the board against the house, but we don't have to round the edges at all because it'll be underneath of the siding that sticks out 3/4, and then we got that 5.5 inch piece that goes along the bottom, which that sticks out another like 5/8 or something. So there's probably almost an inch that sticks out. So you won't see that last board at all. So we'll just rip cut that one down on a later day because it looks like the rain is finally here. So I'm gonna do one more and then we'll save this guy and we'll pull out the table saw when it's not raining and rip cut it down. And then we'll actually finish this deck completely. Or the bottom boards. Completely finished means we would have stairs, we would have railings, etc. And it's stained, etc. So I will be back on another day with this video to wrap this thing up. And then we need to start figuring out too what we're gonna do with the concrete down here. Because right now those stairs are sitting on a 2x4, so about 3.5 inches of concrete it looks like we got to pour. Unless those stairs are not level, then we might have to bring it up a little bit more so each tread is level. But I just threw that 2x4 down there yesterday just to give me an idea. And again, this guy's going to be about 4 feet or so wide for a sidewalk. And then against the house here, we're just going to put in some stone. But that'll be another day 2, and we'll start working on the siding on another day 2. Either in this video, depending how long it is, or if we want to add the siding into the HRV when we actually cut through that concrete, which I hope that goes easy. We got to get a 6-inch freaking hole saw with that like 35-pound impact hammer and actually hole saw through concrete plus the foam plus the 5/8 particle board that's on the inside of the utility room. So that's a lot of cutting, and I just hope those bits are good enough to not only cut through concrete, but I guarantee we're going to be hitting some vertical and some horizontal rebar. But again, that will all be in another video. We just really need to get that HRV up and running before summer really hits. So I'll see you guys back in a few days and I'll think on all of that, and we'll just go from there. Hey everybody, welcome back a few days later. I just went ahead and got that last board set. I just rip cut it down. Install went okay. It looks like we took about an inch off. The only thing that I did notice, I made a mistake, that while I got these outside boards completely perfect with like the squareness of the deck, like for example, this outside board here hangs over exactly 2 inches. So that way we can put LP Smart siding up against our treated boards here. So we're not looking at those boards. We're looking at more of a clean finish. And obviously I got that side over there completely perfectly straight, because every one of these boards, oh my God, it makes such a difference that you do not have to cut any boards or have any seams. Every one of these boards was just cut to 16 foot. They all just plop down in perfectly, and then we could just throw them on as we go on back to the house. But the only thing I didn't make sure that I had 100% square was the overhang on this outside board is 100% perfect. But when we get close to the house here, you can see we're 4.5 inches basically up against the house on this board. And then you can see that seam opens up there, which means that as these boards were coming through, this side over here must have been a little bit further out. Or the deck's not straight, the house isn't straight, but I doubt it's the house. I mean, this wall looks pretty straight as an arrow, but not a big deal, because by the time we put the 3/8 thickness of the LP on, plus our bottom trim board, that gap right there will completely disappear. So what I want to get working on right now is just finishing out the LP, going all the way up over to this window, and we can put a few pieces till we get about here, because unfortunately I'm not ready to take this off and I'm still deciding how the hell we're going to put this window in. We can definitely build some boxes up here, or my dad said he's got a ladder or two little ladders that you can put kind of like the bridging across, so two people can stand up here. But it almost might make more sense to have 2 or 3 guys on the inside of the house and bring this guy up at an angle, kick it out, and then we'll all rotate it and then stick it back in. But that's a big heavy window to be doing that, and we need to make sure that the platform that we're standing on, I mean, it needs to be probably at least the height of where the Fox blocks and the Dura blocks come together, or if that thing starts to topple over, I mean, it's end game for everybody. And then the rest of the day, I'm gonna finish actually caulking this wall back here, and I think it's a beautiful day. We're actually just gonna hand paint it. Doesn't take that long to hand paint. We'll do the soffits at a later time, because again, in between those cracks, it's just easier to hit it with a sprayer because the brush can't get up into those cracks. But if we can get this entire wall here painted black all the way up to here, or at least over to here, plus up there and everything, I think it'll look a lot nicer and it'll feel like we actually accomplished something big today. So I'm going to get some measurements, get working on this wall, and then again in the next video, hopefully we'll be able to core drill those holes, fire up the HRV, and actually enjoy the house being humidity kind of controlled and that fresh air coming in. All right, so I just got this piece measured out. Unfortunately, this is the only piece on the house that's going to be a little bit abnormal. Shouldn't be able to see it. Usually if we're doing the siding from down there and going from one side to the other, obviously like the end piece is going to get a little bit cut short or something. But where this piece ends right here on the regular zip paneling for the regular garage, our first ICF strap doesn't start here, so it's only about 11 1/4 inches, and all the way down to this ICF strip, or this ICF strip, we're beyond 16 inches. So unfortunately we're gonna have 2 batten strips relatively close together, while everyone else is like 16 inches on center. This guy right here will be 11, but is what it is. Nothing I can do to fix it. But we just got this first piece cut. Let's rip cut it down. And then for the first time in several months, we're finally getting started back on our siding. All right, if you guys haven't heard me say it before, a galvanized ring shank will go right into ICF webbing just like you're going into lumber. And if the nail does stick out a little bit, hit it with a hammer. It will literally actually draw the material and the nail in again, just like you're pounding in the lumber. They work absolutely great, and 1,000 times faster to put up your ICF house than using like screws. All right, so a little more progression here. I got over and underneath of this window. I'm actually going to save those 2 pieces up there because I can't do any of the batten strips yet, because I need the trim, like this 3.5 incher right there, to go up and under there all the way across. And it's just easier to caulk right now that piece up there and caulk around the window and stuff. And then because this deck is over 16 foot long, it doesn't make sense to run that 5.5 inch lower piece to end like right here and then just have like 1.5 feet. So because I have to have a transition point anyway, I might as well just do a piece all the way over to here at 6 foot. And then that means I can kind of work on getting the batten strip pieces in for here and here. And I'll mock up a 3.5 incher right here so I know where this batten strip ends. And then that way we can kind of caulk all of this and keep it protected until we are ready to do our 3.5 inch wood trim over here and our 3.5 inch wood trim right here going all the way across. And since those are under 16 foot, that piece there, and the piece up there will pretty much be all one piece. But again, since we have to have a transition anyway, we might as well put one down there and get all of these batten strips knocked out, and then we can caulk everything, and then we can get to painting this, and we should wrap this video up and wrap this up for today. All right, everybody, wrapping it up here. I got done what I wanted to get done, although technically I wanted one more layer of paint on everything. We've only got a single layer going down to where those two were already done at the end, but one more layer of paint on here. The backside of the garage was basically done now. We just need to do the soffits. But again, the main goal in this video was to get the porch on so that I know where to drill the holes into the house. So the next video, hopefully you guys should see that. We're gonna be core drilling through freaking 6 inches of concrete with rebar. We need 2 holes, and we need to go all the way into the utility room. So it's probably gonna make an absolute mess, but at least once it's done and we know that we're not gonna hit anything besides rebar and stuff, and not hitting the batten strips, etc., we can get this house finally up and running the way that I actually want to. So if you guys enjoyed that, if you guys got anything to say, message us down below or comment. You can hit us up on NeckofTheWoods 2020 on Instagram, and I guess we'll see you guys next time. Take care.